Do you ever get stuck when speaking English because you're translating in your head? Well, don't worry, it happens to a lot of learners, but in this video, I will show you 20 simple tips. I know 20 is a lot, okay? I wanted 5, it became 10, and now it's 20. All right, I'm sorry, but they're important. They're important tips. Anyway, these tips will help you stop translating in your head and you will start thinking directly in English and become a more fluent speaker. Okay, are you ready? Let's go. So, tip 1. Focus on communication, not perfection. Strangely, I see this with a lot of higher level students, like an intermediate level, B1 plus, B2, and the desire, the need for perfection often holds them back, stops them from reaching a C1 level. They get stuck trying to speak perfectly, worrying about grammar, vocabulary, sounding smart. But this only slows you down and makes you more afraid to speak. The truth is, fluency comes from communication, not perfection. If you focus too much on getting everything right, you will freeze and you'll just speak less. This happened to me when learning French. So instead, focus on expressing your ideas, communicating, and connecting with others. So imagine you want to say something like, I was walking in the city and I saw an incredible street performance. But you're not sure about all the words. So you could say, I walked in the city, I saw a man, he played music, it was amazing. Simple, yes, but clear. And that is what matters. So when you stop worrying about perfect grammar and big words, you will speak more and you will feel more confident. Fluency is about practicing communication, not perfection. So remember, don't be perfect, be clear, be brave, and be real, right? Be you. Tip 2 is increase your English exposure. Fluency doesn't come from just speaking. It begins with reading and listening every single day. This is called language exposure, and it means putting English all around you. So, music, background noise, listening to a podcast, watching your favorite series. You don't have to understand everything. You just need the language to be around you. So watch 15 minutes of an English TV show. Listen to a podcast while you cook or clean. Read just one page of a book, or even read English captions of Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube videos from English speakers. You don't need to study for 2 hours. Even 20 minutes a day can make a difference, if it's every day. When I was learning French as a young teenager, I didn't realize I was studying. I just loved French culture. I listened to music and learned the lyrics from bands like Noir Désir and Trio. And I watched so many French films. I watched French comedy like Gad Elmaleh, and I listened to the radio, what was it? France Inter, yeah. France Inter, while I was doing my homework. So all of that language exposure helped my brain get used to the language. It made me feel like I was living in the language, even in my tiny bedroom. So your brain needs to hear the language again and again. That's how you recognize, right, see and understand patterns. And that's one way how it learns to think without translating. If you want to think in English, you have to live with English every day. I always say to my students, you don't study a language, you live it. Tip number 3, think in images and scenes, not words. One of the best ways to stop translating in your head is to stop thinking word by word and instead start thinking in pictures, images, and scenes, like from a movie. You see, your brain is great at remembering what you see, not what you translate. A classic example is, imagine you learn the word apple. So don't think of the word in your language. Instead, picture an apple. Imagine an apple, okay? Imagine the color, the shape, the smell. Now, bite into it. Hear the crunch. Feel the texture in your mouth. Okay, let's use a simple sentence, something like, I'm going to the shop. Don't translate every word. Instead, imagine someone grabbing their coat, opening the door, and walking outside to the shop. Okay? See the scene. Feel the action. When I was studying Korean, I did this. I connected words with images and actions. And even now, when I see some objects, I actually think of the Korean word first. Things like tangerine, my first thought is 귤, right? 귤. It pops into my brain automatically. So, yeah, sometimes I forget the English word. I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, but it definitely works. And this works for difficult words too. For example, freedom, anxiety. You imagine yourself on the top of a mountain, right? That's freedom. Or you're waiting for exam results. You're feeling nervous. That is anxiety. Or you can even use a movie scene. So maybe you have seen the movie Braveheart. Great movie. When Mel Gibson screams, freedom! And that's a moment your brain will never forget. Now the word freedom becomes more powerful. It's not just a word. Even longer phrases like collocations. I talk about this a lot on my channel. A collocation is when two or more words naturally go together. So let's think of a good collocation like utterly ridiculous. Right? We learned the word utterly, and the collocation is utterly ridiculous. It means completely ridiculous. So you can imagine your friend wearing a chicken costume to a wedding, right? That's not just silly, it's utterly ridiculous. Now, every time you hear that phrase, you will remember the chicken suit and you will feel the meaning. So remember, your brain learns best when it connects words to real things, not translations. And by linking pictures, actions, feelings to words, you make English a real part of your life. So when you learn a new word, don't ask, what's the translation? Instead, ask questions like, what does it look like? What does it feel like? What moment can I connect it to? Tip 4 is practice self-talk. This is one of the easiest and most powerful ways to stop translating. It's called self-talk, and yes, it really works. You speak to yourself in English. No pressure, no audience, just you and your thoughts. You can do it anywhere, in the kitchen, while walking, before bed, and even in the shower. So, I used to sing in the shower, badly. And I learned about self-talk. So I started practicing self-talk in the shower in Korean. Just simple phrases like 물이 뜨거, 샴푸 필요하다, 오늘은 정말 피곤하다, 인생이 왜 이렇게 힘들지? 새로운 직장을 찾아야 돼. Now, at first, it will feel strange, but after a few days, you get used to it very quickly. So, if you're cooking, say it out loud. I'm cutting vegetables. The water is boiling. Where's the salt? If you're bored, you can say, what should I do now? Maybe I'll watch a movie. And if you have a dog or a cat, I highly recommend you speak to them in English. For example, hey Buster, I'm making coffee. Do you want some food again? They won't judge your grammar and they're great listeners. So self-talk builds the habit of thinking in English, and it turns English into something you live and not just study. You stop reaching for translations and start using what you already know. It doesn't need to be perfect, just consistent. That means practicing every day. So try 1 to 2 minutes every day. Make it fun, make it real. And who knows, maybe your dog will become a fluent speaker as well. Tip 5 is use silent videos and picture talk. This tip is really simple, but really effective. All you need is a photo or a video with no sound. Then you try to describe what you see in English out loud. The goal is to speak English without translating. You're not copying, you're not reading, you're looking and just saying what comes to your mind in English. So let's look at a photo together and I'll show you. All right. So I can see many people on the street and they are wearing shorts and t-shirts. It looks like they are playing with water. I can see many water guns. People are laughing, smiling, and having lots of fun. Now, you can also say just simple words and phrases. That's okay too. So, for example, there are many people. I can see many colors. They are playing with water. They are having fun. That's fine. When you use a photo or a video, your brain is working with real images, not translations. So you are training your brain to connect what you see with English directly. And because it's visual, it helps you remember better, speak more naturally, and stop relying on your native language. This is a fun one. Try it every day for 3 minutes. it can really change the way you think in English. Tip 6 is do short speaking challenges. This tip will help you think faster, speak faster, and stop translating. I have talked about this in another video, but it's really important and relevant to this video, right? It's connected to stopping translating. So you get your phone, set a timer for 1 minute or 2 minutes, and just try to talk in English without stopping. The goal isn't to be perfect. The goal is to keep going and use the English you already know. For example, you can talk about your morning. I woke up at 6, I ate breakfast, I had toast and eggs, then I got ready for work, I felt really tired because I'm always tired, but I had coffee, right? You see how I keep going? Even if you repeat yourself or make mistakes, that's okay. Just keep going and don't stop. So why does this work? Well, when you only have 60 seconds, you don't have time to translate. You have to think fast and speak simply. And this trains your brain to work in English. And the best part is if you do it every day, your confidence will grow. Please try it once a day, set a timer, choose a topic, and speak without stopping. It's hard at first, but so powerful over time. Okay, tip 7 is very interesting, and it's use limited vocabulary to tell stories. Here's something powerful. You don't need a big vocabulary to speak well. In fact, trying to use too many new words can make you pause, translate, and lose confidence. So this tip is all about telling simple stories using words you already know. Okay, what do? You choose a memory, a real experience, or just what you did today. Then try to tell that story in English without looking up any words. Use short, clear sentences. Repeat if you need to, that's okay. For example, here is a short story. Last weekend, I went to the park. I saw a dog. It ran to me. I was scared, but it was friendly. It licked my hand. I laughed. It's not perfect English, but it is communication. You're using what you know to talk about something meaningful. You can also describe a memory. When I was a child, I had a bike. It was red. I rode it every day. I loved that bike. No difficult grammar, no long words, just clear, true English. This tip teaches your brain to think and speak naturally with the words already inside you. And you stop translating because you're not reaching for the perfect phrases. You're just telling the story. Remember, it's not about being impressive here. It's just about being understood. Tip 8, create an English immersion environment. The more you surround yourself with English, the easier it will be to speak and think in English. One of the best ways to stop translating is to make English a part of your everyday life. You can start by making small changes in your daily routine. Change your phone and computer settings in English. watch TV shows, listen to music, read news articles in English every day. You can make a daily English hour where you only use, read, and listen to English content. This could be watching a show, listening to a podcast, reading an article. The more you practice, the more natural English will become for you. Now, if you don't want to do the full immersion, right, like 1 or 2 hours of only English, you can do the no L1 rule for 5 to 15 minutes. No L1 means no mother tongue, your native language, your first language. So it's the same thing. Think in English, listen and read things in English, speak to yourself, do some self-talk. You can ask yourself some questions like, what shall I do today? Oh, how about we go to and have like a conversation. Here's my story. In 2012, I discovered a method called AJAT, all Japanese, all the time, created by a person called Katsumoto. He taught himself Japanese by using the language all day, even when he didn't understand everything. And the core idea, the main idea, was simple. 100% exposure to the language, right? Exposure, surrounding yourself, making the language a part of his everyday life. So he believes that the best way to learn a language is to surround yourself with it as much as possible, even if you don't understand every word. So I'm not saying you need to do this right away, but starting with 15 minutes every day will really help you. Okay, tip 9 is shadow native speakers. Shadowing is a great, whoa, that's bright. Shadowing is a great technique that will help you sound more fluent and stop translating in your head. But what is it? Well, if you don't already know, shadowing is when you listen to a native speaker and you repeat immediately what you are listening to. So you are trying to copy their rhythm and pronunciation. So rhythm, are they fast or slow? Where are they stressing certain words? And pronunciation, how they are speaking. So you don't pause the audio, you mimic, you copy the speaker in real time, right? While you are listening. So find a short audio or video clip in English. It can be a podcast, a YouTube video, a scene from your favorite movie or television series. Start listening to it. As soon as the speaker says something, you repeat it immediately out loud without pausing. Try to match the speaker's tone, speed, pronunciation, and rhythm as much as possible. So shadowing helps in many ways. It helps you connect the sound of English with meaning, and by copying the speaker, you focus less on individual words and more on how the sentence flows. Over time, shadowing trains your brain to react faster in English so that you can speak more naturally without translating. Okay, we are halfway through the video. If you are still here, thank you so much. Tip 10 is all about helping your brain understand English directly without relying on translations. So tip 10 is read and listen in English without translating. Sounds simple? Yes. Well, let me explain. When you read or listen to something in English, try not to translate each word into your native language. Instead, try to focus on understanding the meaning of the sentence as a whole. For example, if you're watching a movie, don't pause the video to translate every word. Try to understand the main idea of the conversation or story by focusing on the context. Context means the situation or the background of the conversation, like who is talking, where they are, and what they are talking about. You don't need to understand every single word, just the main meaning. Over time, your brain will get better at understanding the key ideas, the main ideas, and connecting them with real-world experiences. The more you practice reading and listening like this, the more natural it becomes to understand meaning from context instead of translating word by word. Look, recording yourself might feel strange at first, but it's a powerful way to improve your English. It helps you see if you are making the mistake of translating or if you are using English naturally. So choose a topic, your day, your favorite movie, something you did recently, and speak about it in English for 1 to 2 minutes. This is similar to the don't stop speaking activity where you try to speak as much as you can. There's no pressure. Just talk about a topic for a minute or two. When you're finished, listen to the recording or watch the recording and ask yourself these questions. What did I say well? What words or phrases did I struggle with, right? Struggle with, find difficult. Did I translate anything? If so, note it, write it down. What did you try to translate? You can also record short stories or simple questions. The goal is to get used to speaking in English and to understand how you sound. So how does this work? Well, when you start listening to recordings, you start noticing, right? Seeing, discovering. You start noticing patterns in your speech. You will hear when you stop to translate and when you speak naturally. This understanding, this self-awareness helps you make improvements faster and helps you notice where you need more practice. Tip 12 is use collocations and phrases, not just words. Learning collocations, words that naturally go well together, is a really important step to improving your fluency. You will stop thinking about translating individual words and start thinking in phrases and sentences, just like how native speakers do. So for example, instead of learning the word complicated, we can learn collocations like complicated process, complicated situation. These are phrases you will hear often and it will make you sound like a more natural, fluent speaker. So when you come across a new or difficult word, don't memorize it alone. Find common phrases and collocations that use the word. And you can use AI like ChatGPT to help you find collocations with any new words you have learned. There are many apps, websites, and online resources to help you find common collocations. And now listen for them when you watch TV or listen to a podcast or even read a book. Tip 13, listen actively, not just passively. So when you listen to English, it's very easy to just let the words go by without really thinking about them. But if you want to stop translating, you need to actively listen. Okay, very quickly, what's the difference? Passive listening, active listening. Passive listening is when you are hearing the words, but you're not paying close attention. You're not focusing. And active listening is when you really focus on understanding the main message, even if you don't understand every single word. Choose a short video or podcast and focus on the main idea, the overall meaning, or the gist, right? The gist, we say, the general meaning. Don't worry about understanding every word. If you don't understand something, guess its meaning from what you already know. This is how I see active listening. So imagine you are speaking to a police officer and you really need to understand what they are saying. Otherwise, you might get into trouble. So if that happened to you, you would have 100% focus. That's the level of attention you need for active listening. For example, you're listening to a podcast about health. Ask yourself, what is the speaker talking about? And what is the main message they are giving? When you focus on understanding the message instead of translating, your brain learns to process English more quickly. But remember, active listening can be very tiring. It's a lot of focus, so don't do it for too long. Start with short sessions, like 5 to 15 minutes at a time. Tip 14 is obvious but important, and it is to speak and write regularly. Remember, practice makes permanent. This means the more you practice something, the more it becomes a habit. If you practice speaking and writing regularly, it will feel more natural over time and you will stop translating. So please set aside time, right? Give yourself time to speak and write in English every day, even if it's just for 1 or 2 minutes. Now, we've talked a lot about speaking and I've given you a lot of tips like self-talk. So let's focus on writing. I find writing just fascinating because I see it like crystallized speech, right? So it's speech making it into a crystal. What do I mean? Okay, let me explain. Well, think how a crystal is made over time. The more time and care it gets, the clearer and stronger it becomes. And writing is like that. You see, with speaking, you often say things quickly without much time to think. But when you write, you have a lot more time to think carefully about what you want to say and how you want to say it. Over time, writing helps you organize your thoughts in English, so it makes it easier to speak later. For example, you could write about your day, a short story, or your opinion on a news article you have read recently. Remember, this helps you practice thinking in English. And it's okay if your writing isn't perfect. Focus on the ideas, not the grammar mistakes. So please don't forget about writing because it gives you time to think. You can take your time to choose the right words, and this will build confidence in your English skills. Tip 15, use a monolingual dictionary. That's English to English. So switch from using a bilingual dictionary, bi means two, like bicycle, for example, English to German dictionary, and switch to an English to English dictionary. This, of course, helps you think directly in English because you won't be translating into your native language. And I recommend an English Learner's Dictionary, like the Merriam-Webster's Learner's Dictionary is very good. So you can understand a word through simple examples and context in English. So when is the best time to start with a monolingual dictionary? Well, I think around the B1 level is a good time to start. At first, it will feel slower because you're not translating directly into your native language. So you can start using a bilingual dictionary for difficult words and gradually, slowly change to a monolingual dictionary. And of course, the more you practice, the quicker you will become at understanding definitions, the meanings of words in English. This will definitely help you stop translating into your native language. And if you don't fully understand the definition in English, you can always use AI like ChatGPT. So for example, you can say, I'm a B1 learner, please explain this word to me. If it's too difficult, you change to A2 or A1 even. So try it and let me know how it goes. If you have never done it, you can start with just 5 or 10 new vocabulary words that you have just learned and use a monolingual dictionary. Your brain will start to process English more naturally and it will really help you. Tip 16, speak with others. Okay, it sounds obvious, I know, but here's the truth. Speaking practice really does help you stop translating in your head. Why? Well, because when you're having a real-time conversation, you don't have time to stop and translate every word, especially if you want the conversation to keep flowing, right? Keep going. So you just have to speak, and that forces your brain to think in English. Join online speaking groups or offline speaking groups, like in-person speaking groups. You can use apps like Hi Native, HelloTalk, Tandem, Meetup, italki, and you can chat with people in English. Now, I know this can be scary, especially for people who are a little bit shy. So you can start with text messages, then voice messages, and when you're ready to level up, you can have live conversations. I'm actually thinking of creating live speaking groups with myself. It will be 4 people in a group. You will receive a PDF with questions and conversation topics we will be talking about, and we'll have fun, meaningful chats. And at the end, I will give feedback on what we can improve on. If you're interested, please let me know in the comments. Just write, "I'm interested," and I will know what you're talking about. Tip 17, use SRS apps in different ways. So spaced repetition system apps, or SRS, are just like flashcard apps for your phone, tablet, or computer, and they help you review words and phrases just at the right time before you forget them. Some great apps for this are Anki, but I use an app called Flashcards. So these apps make vocabulary learning much easier and efficient. Okay, so I'm going to show you 3 different ways you can use these flashcard apps, because I have seen so many students just have, for example, I'm learning German, English on one side and German on the next. And I don't think that is the best way to use these apps. So let me show you a few different ways. So the first way focuses on understanding and using words in context. So on side A, you write the definition, the meaning of the word in English. Side B, you add the word and some common collocations. So phrases the word is often used with. Let me show you an example. So you learned the word conversation. So on side A, we write a discussion between 2 or more people. Side B, we write conversation, and we include collocations like have a conversation, engage in conversation, start a conversation. After you see side B, make a sentence out loud using one of the collocations. For example, I had a meaningful conversation with my friend last night about our favorite books. If that is too difficult for you, you can have the definition in your first language as well on side B. But I think it's good to not have it if you can. Number 2 is the close method. This is a gap fill. So side A, you write a sentence and you put a blank, a gap, where the word should go. And side B, you just write the word. For example, side A, I had a great blank with my friend about the movie. Side B, conversation. So it helps you understand how the word works in context. Okay, and number 3, I think, is my favorite. This is a flashcard that uses context-based sentences. Let me show you. So side A, you write a sentence using the target word in context. Target word means the word you are learning. And side B, you show the word and the meaning of the word in English. And if you want, you can also put the meaning in your first language if you want. Let me give you an example. So side A, after the meeting, we decided to prioritize the most urgent tasks. And side B, we write prioritize, right? The word we are learning. Is it a verb, a noun, right? What type of a word it is. Then the meaning. To decide which tasks are most important and focus on them first. So side B here, you can write in your native language as well if you want. So here you are absorbing vocabulary more naturally and in context. Now, if you want, you can combine all of these methods together. You can start with the first type, then the second and the third. See which one works for you and see which one you like. So by learning new vocabulary in context with collocations, you will start to think in English more naturally and stop translating in your head. Okay, it's time for tip 18. Let me just say, if you are still watching this, then thank you and hats off to you. That means congratulations. So tip 18 is learn to explain, use other words, and use opposites. You see, when you forget a word or you don't know how to say something, it's very easy to switch into your native language and start translating. But we don't want that. So instead, keep speaking English by explaining what you mean in different ways. You can say the same thing, but in a different way. That is called paraphrasing. You can describe what something is or does. This is called circumlocution. You don't need to know that, but if you want to know. Or you can even use opposites to explain what you want to say. Okay, let's start with using different words. Paraphrasing. An easy example, I say, I had a really fun time at the park. Try to say the same thing, but in a different way. For example, I enjoyed myself at the park, right? That is paraphrasing. You can describe the word, right? Circumlocution. For example, let's imagine you forget the word vacuum cleaner or Hoover in the UK. So you can say, it's a machine that cleans the floor by sucking up dirt. And the last one is using opposites. For example, if you forget the word easy, you can just say not difficult. This is why learning similar words, synonyms, and the opposite words, antonyms, is really important, and it can help you with your fluency. There is a great warm-up game you can play if you have a language group or a meetup group. I do it a lot with my students. It's called Taboo. Have you heard of it? Anyway, you have two teams and you have to describe a word without saying the word. And sometimes without saying easy words. For example, I need to describe the word cup, but I can't say the word cup. So I say, I drink my coffee out of this. And my team will shout cup. So you can use all of these three techniques with this game, and it's really fun and helpful for your fluency. So if you practice these techniques, you will get more confident and you will be able to keep speaking English without the need of translating. Okay, tip 19, this is my favorite, but before I tell you, answer this. Why do they put erasers on the ends of pencils? Because everyone makes mistakes. And that is tip 19. Embrace mistakes. Look, nobody likes making mistakes, but mistakes are important when learning a language. And they're especially important for thinking in English without translating. The key is to stop fearing mistakes and start using them like stepping stones toward fluency. Here's how. So number one, shift your mindset. Change your mindset. Instead of thinking, I made a mistake, think, I learned something new. Every time you make a mistake, you're closer to thinking directly in English and becoming a fluent speaker. Number 2, we already talked about, but speak more often with mistakes. So that's self-talk or speaking to a native speaker or in a group, because mistakes will happen and that's okay. Number 3 is my favorite. Laugh at your mistakes. Language learning is fun, so don't be afraid to laugh at your own mistakes. There are many times when I was learning French and Korean where I made some really funny mistakes. For example, when I was learning Korean, I was in a restaurant and I wanted to get the waitress's attention, and I should have shouted 저기요, right? 저기요 means kind of over here or over there, like. But instead I shouted 자기야, 자기야, and that means like darling, or a word you say to a partner, like your boyfriend, girlfriend, husband or wife. And everybody in this huge restaurant started laughing at me a lot. And you know what? I laughed too. Another example is my first year in France. I needed a Hoover, right? A vacuum cleaner. And I used the word respirateur, right? It should be aspirateur. Respirateur is more breathing in and out, right? Respiration. So, and it's quite funny imagining a Hoover sucking in air and blowing out at the same time. Not very useful. But look, this is part of language learning, and I think it's important to laugh at yourself, and also leads on to my next point, which is share mistakes with others. I think sharing your mistakes with others shows that you're not alone in this language learning journey. And I think this will help you stop thinking, I'm making a mistake, and start thinking, this is part of learning. So if you're watching this, share a mistake you made in English with the others. I think it will be really helpful. And I'm also interested to read it. If you are still watching this, congratulations. I can't believe it. You can't believe it. We are here. It's tip 20. The sun has gone down. I've put a big light in front of my face. But anyway, so tip 20 is connected to thinking in English, okay? But it's an extra tip. So tip 20 is to set triggers to think in English throughout the day. So make small reminders for yourself to think in English every day. And these can be called triggers, right? Like on a gun, a trigger. You pull the trigger. It makes you do something. For example, you can put a note on your fridge, phone, or mirror that says, think in English. When you see it, take a minute to focus and think in English about something you're doing. I personally prefer to set an alarm on my phone and sometimes even with a question, not just think in English. So questions like, how are you feeling today? What did you do this morning? What will you do at the weekend? So this helps you stay focused on English and practice real conversations in your head. Another great way is to connect an action to create a habit. For example, every time you make coffee, that is now your thinking in English time. You can think about anything you like, a topic you're practicing, something you want to talk about, or just about your day. So By turning these small moments into habits, your brain will just start thinking in English without even trying. The more you practice, the more automatic it becomes, and you will start thinking in English naturally throughout the day. Okay, thank you so much for watching until the end of this video. I would love to know who you are because it's difficult to watch a long video, especially not in your first language. So if you are still here, please put in the comments, no more translating. And that tells me you watched the end of the video. Let's see who made it all the way to the finish line. I cannot wait to read your comments and learn about your English language learning journey. All right, that's it from me. Thanks again. And as always, I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.